You are most welcome, Samson, and good morning to all your viewers.
Right. There are those who suggest that since you knew that potentially there will arise this kind of situation, even when you were victorious at the Court of Appeal, and some also suggest that the Court of Appeal may have needed to pay attention to the situation there and not, just go ahead and issue that this thing is unlawful. Some say since you knew that this was potentially going to happen, even in your victory, don't take Na Alhaji Seidu Abagri into Bawku. What do you say?
Well, very well, Samson, sorry. You see, the question of illegality was decided by the Court of Appeal. And so, Na Seidu Abagri Na Kolga patiently waited for over a year, to get a favorable outcome of this matter, so that he could move on. But don't forget that Na Seidu Abagri was enslaved by the Nayiri, who is the kingmaker of Bawku. So he was just a beneficiary. There were others. It could have been any other Mampusi prince. You see? And if you look at the period between when the Court of Appeal's decision came out and the time that he went back to Bawku, it took a while. And please don't forget that he's a father, he's a grandfather, he's a head of a family, he's a head of a clan, and his spiritual and wise guidance is needed by his people. So you cannot exile somebody, a Ghanaian, and ask that, don't come back to your hometown, because if you come back to your hometown, there will be some upheavals and then we would shed blood. I mean, that basically is the statements, unfortunately, by our Kusasi brothers. I thought that they would have exercised restraint and allowed, the due process, the legal processes to go on. Because, you see, I had also cited an appeal to the Supreme Court seeking to overturn the decision of the Court of Appeal. I thought that was unfortunate. But the government thought it wise that, look, going to the Supreme Court, to pursue this matter was not the best. So it rescinded that decision. And I was
you mean to say that after the decision of the Court of Appeal on the 17th, when the Attorney General lost, they went to the Supreme Court and they also decided to withdraw that appeal to the Supreme Court? Yes,
I cited it. I cited something like that. There was a process, a notice of appeal, So, and that was an unfortunate situation. But you see, I thought that Na Seidu Abagri Na Kolga, going back to Bawku, shouldn't have created all these mayhem and upheavals.
His enskinment brought trouble, brought death. So you know that his return will also likely result in what we are now seeing, right?
Samson, we can go back to that, but you see, a lot of people say that his enskinment was illegal. What was the illegality in the enskinment? You see, when you go to the Constitution, Article 277, it clearly states how somebody becomes a chief. Nobody has said that Na Kolga does not hail from Bawku. He doesn't hail from a royal lineage. and that his enskinment was not done according to the customs and traditions of Mamproses. So when people say that there was an illegality and that the enskinment was wrong, is it to say that it did not comply with the provisions of Article 277 or any other provisions under the Chieftaincy Act? Now, Samson, you and I are lawyers. Look at section, I think, 63 of the Chieftaincy Act. There are subsections from A to F, which talks about offenses of a chief. Where in all those subsections apply to Nasheriga? You can't find any.
Don't you think that sometimes for the sake of peace, you don't unduly stay on the black letter law and say, if you can't point to breaching of Article 277, if you can't point to offenses or committed by a chief, then we are clean. No one should complain, yet deaths are happening.
So I'm happy you have said that. So those offenses you can't find any offense under the Constitution or under the Chieftaincy Act. But Samson, let me refer you to, still on the Constitution, Article 1911. Okay, and if I may read, it says that no person shall be convicted of a criminal offense unless the offense is defined and the penalty for it is described in a written law. So, the crime. Who has defined that crime that Nasheriga has committed? Where is the crime?
Okay, hold on for me.
And something, don't forget that Nasheriga did not enskin himself.
That's a point you have made. So hold on for me. Let me bring on Maxwell Agbambilla, who is lawyer and speaks for the Bawku Naba. Thanks for joining us, Maxwell. So the question some are asking is, why should now Kulga II's return to his home, to his family, to his people, result in bloodbath?
Thank you, and thank you to all your viewers and listeners. Before I go to answer your question, if you may permit me to make a comment or two about what has already been discussed so that we can properly put the conversation into proper perspectives, in my humble view. Now, the first question you asked to the first speaker was whether or not there was some security lapse. And he sort of agreed with you and sought to say that indeed there has been some security lapse. Now, with respect, I completely disagree that national security or the security architecture of this country has never been fully aware of all the events that are happening in Bawku. I think, and I can give you a litany and series of events to buttress my point. I think that what is happening in Bawku is purely as a result of the fact that the Mamproses in Bawku think that because they have a son in the person of the Vice President of the Republic, they can use him to perpetrate the carnage that is now happening in Bawku. And permit me to give you just a few things. Now, you would know that the Mamproses in Bawku purport that they had a chief who died more than 40 years ago. They never spoke about any funeral. Indeed, the information we have is that the man died as a practicing Muslim. And then you know that when Muslims die, there's an adua that is being performed. 40 years later, all of a sudden, they get up and say, look, we want to perform a funeral of our departed chief. Everybody cautioned them that this funeral that you want to perform is a recipe for disaster. In fact, national security picked the intelligence. They placed an injunction on the so-called funeral, but surprisingly, there were people led by a certain Natampuri. They stormed Bawku and violated the injunction that was placed on the purported funeral and actually performed it. They got them arrested, I think about 7 of them, brought them to Accra, took them to court, gave them VIP treatment. They were acquitted and they returned home as heroes. National security saw, they knew about it. Then later, we heard that there was some purported enslavement in Bawku. The government issued an arrest warrant for the arrest of Seydou Abagri. Look, in this country, let's not kid ourselves. Unless government or the security apparatus don't want to find you, wherever you are, you can always be located. But they issued the arrest warrant. It remained on paper for more than a year. Seydou Abagri was living a free man. In fact, his lawyers were going to court up and down. How do you say that a person who is hiding has lawyers he's giving instructions to who are going to court, from High Court to Court of Appeal? So government just didn't want to act. National security just didn't want to act. Then they succeed in setting aside the arrest warrant. And if you read the ruling of the Court of Appeal, the judges lament that the Attorney General did not even put in a response.
That's right.
Then they get it rescinded. The Attorney General decides to appeal. As for whether or not the argument about the rightfulness or otherwise of the arrest warrant, I don't want us to go into that because it's not a legal exercise. But except to say that there's a difference between Section 61, which the Court of Appeal was complaining about, and Section 71, which sort of allows the High Court to be able to issue an arrest warrant. But I don't want us to go into that. I just want to give you a litany of events that show that national security and government, for that matter, is fully aware. So the Attorney General now decides to file an appeal of the arrest warrant. We talked to him. We told him that, look, you are better off just issuing another arrest warrant because an appeal is a waste of time. And the situation in Bawku is quite volatile. If you allow this man to go, we may have consequences. The following day, to our utter dismay, that arrest warrant, the appeal was withdrawn. You know, and then we are where we are now. So I don't think that the national security or the security architecture is not aware of what is happening in Bawku. It is because some people think that by giving the Mampusis in Bawku what they want, it may brighten the chances of Dr. Bawumia. And indeed, there are some that we have heard who say that, look, you let Seydou Abagri go to Bawku, let there be chaos or whatever. We will place a state of emergency on the Bawku area, which has 6 constituencies, so that they don't go to the elections, and that may brighten the chances of Dr. Bawumia. I don't know where they get those kind of analysis from. And they seek to say...
Yeah, that's a speculation you are making for now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. No, it's a speculation that is firmly grounded in the events that I've told you. Otherwise, how do you place an injunction on a funeral? People go and do it.
It's difficult to think that any of our leaders will be interested in allowing bloodbath as a pretext to issue a state of emergency to disenfranchise a group of people. Already 19 people are dead, but we are told the numbers are even higher. And you can't think that any leader will want more people to die just so they win an election.
Shocking as it is, that is what we have found ourselves in, the situation we found ourselves in now. And as I was saying, they have managed, and when they go to their meetings, they have managed to convince the government that Kusasis are anti-MPP. So let us do this. Even if we don't get them to vote, it brightens our chances. But let me say this, that in the Kusasi area, there are 6 constituencies. It is only Pusiga and Garu that have never given the MPP an MP. Indeed, the whole of Upper East, as we speak, the only MP that the NPP government has in the whole of Upper East comes from a Kusasi zone, Binduri. Before him, we had given them the current minister for Upper West region. We gave them Pemka of Timpani. We gave them Fuseni of Zebila, and so on and so forth. In 2004, we gave them Adamu Sakande in Bawku. So Kusasis are not that we are having. Is Seydou Abagri coming to Bawku to become Mamprusi community chief, or is he going to be paramount chief of Bawku traditional area or Kusa traditional area? I beg you, can you ask my brother that question?
But you know that is what it is.
Yeah, but
it's
but
not about being a community chief. Otherwise, there will not be any problem.
Yeah, but my brother, there's a sitting paramount chief of Bawku who has 25 divisions under him, who has been a member and former president of the Regional House of Chiefs, who is the current member of the National House of Chiefs, who is duly gazetted. Do you just get up one day and say, I have skinned another person to become paramount chief? What kind of lawlessness is that? And now they are telling us that if we are not happy, we should go to court. A man has been there for more than 40 years. You didn't find a reason to go to court.
Is there not any other way other than you wishing that the government will issue a fresh arrest warrant and comply with the processes of issuing same as the Court of Appeal has indicated, by which it annulled the first one? Is there not any other way other than issuing an arrest warrant, arresting Na Kuluga the second? Is there not any other way than that to resolve the situation now?
First, I don't know why you keep referring to him as Na, because I don't know what Na he is.
When he was skinned, that was a skin name he was giving.
Well, that is why they call it illegitimate. Illegitimate to the extent that, as I've just narrated to you, there's a legitimate chief in the area.
Okay, please answer my question.
Yes.
Can something else be done other than using the force of law in arresting someone who is also recognized by a populace as their chief?
Yes, something else can be done, and it is very simple. The offenses that Seydou Abagre, first, you have never presented Seydou Abagre to the police for them to charge him. There's a reason why the arrest warrant was issued. If Seydou Abagre were purporting to contest that the person who is sitting in Bawku is not the chief, he knew the institutions to go to. Now, if you engage yourself in a conduct that has the potential of breaching the peace of this country, is my brother saying that that doesn't amount to an offense?
Okay, thank you, Maxwell. Thank you, Maxwell. So let me go to Dauda. Yes, Dauda. So listening to Maxwell, I cannot foresee. It's difficult for me to see a compromise happening, because as far as they are concerned, this must be pursued as a criminal conduct, or in the alternative, if the Mamprusis agree that Na Alhaji Seydou Abagre will only be a community chief, there will not be any problem. It's difficult for me to see this happening. How can we get out of this?
Very well, Samson. Samson, I think you have overindulged my brother on the other side. And simple question that you asked him, he's gone on and on and on and on without answering the questions.
And so you to try and answer my question directly.
Yeah, I'm not going to digress, but you know, the determining factor in all this is that who founded Bawku. Okay. And the history is clear. Even the writings of Sam that, the Kusasis, refer to very much. Sam says that Bawku was founded by Mamprusi. You see, the Kusasis also agree that, yes, they were acephalous people. Okay, and that they did not practice chieftaincy. And they also agreed that it was the Mamprusis who founded the Bawku scheme.
But the Kusasi people had the Tindanes. The Tindanes are owners of land. That's the question, isn't it?
Yes. If you have time and you want me to go there, Samson, I know you are a Frafra man. Fortunately, I am also partly Frafra because my mother is Frafra. Now, that Tindana issue that we talk about, we have Tindanes all over the Frafra Grone area. Okay, do the Tindanes really own the land? You see, the Tindanes even belong to families. So, Samson, You are from Polko, I know. Okay.
No, I'm from Agbambilla. I'm not from Polko.
Yes,
I'm from
yes,
Agbambilla.
yes, Agbambilla and Polko are,
It's all right. Go on.
Yes. So you see, the Tindanes are custodians of Tingbane. You see, these people do not own the lands per se. They pacify the gods. Families own the land. Look, it is trite law. How do people acquire land? Either by discovery or purchase or conquest. Kusasis have never said that they discovered Bawku. Where did they discover Bawku from? Where were they and they came to Bawku? There's no history of that.
But the history is also that you know, the Nairi and his people involved in trade, and because you were involved in a lot of trade, all he does was for the safety of his people, he will appoint someone to be around to check, and that is what has led to and developed into what is becoming sort of the chief.
Yeah, so when Atabia came down, okay, from Zozugu to Zotenga, Bawku was not. It was not Bawku. It was called Zotenga, Zoretenga. I'm trying to get. See, at that point, when Atabia came, the whole land was vacant. You see, we have 6 Mampusi settlements. Something, don't forget, we have the Bisa area, the Kulugungus, the Mognores.
But if people were not in charge of those lands, what was the fear about the attacks on the trade routes, which led to the Nairi appointing, his sons to go to these places and to ensure protection?
That whole area is called Mampurugu State. That whole area was called Mampurugu State. Okay, and there was a relationship. There is a relationship between the Nairi and then the Tinkoro Naba and the Moro Naba Emosi in Burkina Faso. Okay, now you also agree with me that the houses, the Zabarmes, the Moses, the Chokosis, the Bises, they all lived in the Bawku area. But what we are talking about is the 6 cantons that were specifically for Mampusis, and I'll name them for you. We have Sinimbaga, which was the first garrison. Okay, then we also had the last one that came, that was Binduri. We had Bawku itself, we had Gombo, we had Kanga, we had Teshi, we had Werekambo. These were purely Mampusi settlements. You see, we are talking about Bawku. Samson, we are not talking about Kusiga. We are not talking about Zebila.
Okay, so for the lack of time, can you tell us? Can you tell us, for the lack of time, can you tell us what, in your estimation, will restore calm and peace in Bawku?
Very well. Now, first of all, I disagree when they say that when Nashega came back to Bawku, that is what started all these upheavals, killings, and mayhem. You see, 2009, there were killings in Bawku. 2010, there were killings in Bawku. 2008, there were killings in Bawku. 2011, there were killings in Bawku. In 1956, there were fights in Bawku. Look, history tells us the first person who started this matter was Dugunyeli Hebe. Dugunyeli Hebe was the classmate of President Liman, my late father Imoru Salifu, Mr. Ganda, I'm trying to remember his name. They were in the boys' school in Tamale. Dugunyeli Hebe came back and started.
Dada, can we avoid that? Because when we go back into the history, it brings up issues, and Maxwell also will insist that he be given opportunity to speak, because the history also says that the state at a point set up a commission or a committee led by some chiefs, and the resolution in that process was in favor of the Kusasis being the Bawku Naba and not the Mamprusis. So if we go into all of that, it will bring problems. So can you tell me what, in your estimation, is the way forward to resolve this?
You see, the way forward, I was on your studios, I think that was on Monday, and I proposed a way forward. I'm sure you have it. I said that because of the intermarriages and the relationships that we, the Mamprusis and the Kusasis, have had in historical times, and we still do have, you see, we need to come together and fashion a win-win situation. Other than that, our grandchildren, my grandchildren would still be, fighting this in the next century.
What for you sounds like a win-win situation? Yeah,
so what I said was that, look, no Mamprusi is contesting to lord himself over any Kusasi anywhere. And that our customs and traditions are different. And that just like the way Maxwell says that the Kusasis want emancipation and that they were subjected to apartheid. I don't know what that is in our modern...
They call it internal colonialism.
Internal colonialism, very well. You see, the Nairi does not call people and enskin them. People go to the Nairi and get enskinned. Previously, the Kusa Naba was enskinned by the Nairi. You see, as well as other Bawku Nabes. But you see, this issue we are dealing with is with respect to Bawku within the municipality. And for lack of time, I cannot tell you. What I am saying is that, yes.
Thank you very much. I can give you 30 seconds on the closure or shutdown of the 8 courts in this area. The High Court in Bolgatanga, the Circuit Court in Bolgatanga, District Court in Bolgatanga, District Court in Zuarongo, District Court in Zabila, District Court in Garu, District Court in Bongo, and then District Court in Pusiga. You are a lawyer, you practice. Is this, how helpful is this?
It is not good, I have to be honest with you. Okay, it will create some form of hardships for, people who want to have access to the court, especially criminal matters. Okay, and I'm not privy to national security briefing to the CJ as to the reason why she has decided to shut down those courts. So I cannot say that it was a bad decision or it was a good decision.
So this is a time where there are infractions of the law. When there is an infraction of the law, what happens? People are just picked by police and kept in custody. That's it. Yes, Maxwell, let me hear you on that quickly. Please, strictly on the closure of the courts.
Oh, but my brother, you have given him...
Maxwell, I'm very sorry. Strictly on the closure of the courts and how that impacts on the security situation.
Give me a minute to say something and then I'll come to the closure of the courts. I beg you. Now, I have a very simple response to my brother who was talking about who founded Bawku. When we were in school, they taught us that a certain Prince Henry founded Africa. Some say it was Leo Africanus. If we agree that the descendants of Prince Henry, who founded Africa, should come and be our kings in Ghana, then we will give up. Because that's the logic that they are pushing on us. And I have said repeatedly that this argument about who founded Bawku, we can be at it ad infinitum, and nobody will get our way clear. Our case is simple and straightforward.
Right. Closure of the courts. How does that impact on the security situation and life generally?
Of course, I mean, I don't know the decision. I don't know what informed that decision. And there are some other state institutions that are working in the region. I don't know why they chose to close only the courts, as if to say that it is only court staff who their lives matter more than the police, the army, the civil servants, the teachers, the nurses. They are all there. They are working, especially in these times that there's a likelihood of the breach of law and order. If they arrest people and our laws are clear, what you should do with them, and you close down all the courts in the region, I don't know what they intend to achieve with that. And we should not be behaving as if judicial staff are more important than all the other people. And these are all pointers to what I was trying to say, that they will do these things bit by bit and come and tell us that the peace of the area is threatened. And so there would be a state of emergency.
Okay.
To sort out somebody's perceived chances of victory.
Thank you.
Will not
Thank you, Maxwell. Thank you, Maxwell. And I'm going to take very brief comments from